Welcome to Your Redemptive Birth, the birth story podcast where we hear directly from women who have journeyed from medicalized births to natural ones. I'm Sarah, and together we'll hear from women who have reclaimed birth. Their stories are marked by healing, strength, and deep trust in their bodies. If these stories resonate with you, I'd love for you to follow the podcast and leave a review so more women can find hope here. And for more redemptive birth tips and encouragement, come connect with me on Instagram at Your Redemptive Birth. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult your healthcare team for guidance specific to your pregnancy and birth. This is Your Redemptive Birth. Welcome, Meg, to the podcast. I'm so excited to hear your story today. I just was drooling over your page because I just have so much knowledge and wisdom all about, I know you're an integrative health practitioner, and so you work a lot with women's health and balancing hormones like we were just talking about before we hit the record button. But
I know, I love it.
Yeah, well, welcome. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do in the world, your family, kind of number of pregnancies you've had.
Awesome. Sarah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I have not shared my birth story openly yet, so I'm grateful for the timing and us being able to connect and you giving me the opportunity to do this. And I am a blessed mama of now 3, which is still wild to even think about because, like I was telling you before, my oldest is 17. She's getting ready to graduate next weekend, headed to college. It's a very crazy time postpartum right now with my emotions. And then our son is turning 12. And then we just had our son Maverick born March 5th. So big age gap. Thought we were done at 2. I went to school to be a teacher, met my husband at college. The two of us have been together for 20 years. We had our daughter when we were in college. So I was going to school, student teaching, graduated, literally walked across the stage with my 18-month-old. And so we were young when we first started our family. And now we homeschool. We're a homeschool family for the last 6 years. I went back to school to do the integrative health thing instead of being a principal, which is what I originally intended on going to school for, and just continuing on with my certifications in education. But my own health journey and, really wanting to heal my body, my mind, work on my spirituality. There were so many different pieces of the puzzle really led me to wanting to go the integrative health route instead. And then I've been blessed to have, the extra time home with my kids. So it's been a journey as an educator for me, not doing anything like I ever thought I would be doing, but that's the beauty of surrendering to the Lord. So I've been very grateful to just kind of let God take us where he wants us to go. And again, not anywhere where I thought, if you would have asked me if I would have a brand new baby at 38 years old, 20 years after my husband and I first started dating, I would have looked at you and said you were crazy. But here we are. And so with our first birth, it was, like I said, we were young. And I didn't know all the information that I know now. So, 38, 20, 18 years, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of wisdom, experience in between that time. And so when we had our daughter, I was past my due date and 41 weeks, and it's like they want to get the baby out, and failed induction led to an emergency C-section. And it was extremely traumatic after 18 hours of, being young and vulnerable. I didn't know what it was like to be a mom. I didn't know what it was going to be like to breastfeed. I didn't know what it was like to have a baby, nothing. I was so young and so, naive. And so I kind of really gave over my power and let that fear take over. And I ended up with an emergency C-section. And then when my husband and I got married, we ended up getting married in 2013. And so Morgan at that time, we decided, she's going to kindergarten. We want to try to have a baby. We've gotten married, bought a house. We have a career, all the things. We're ready to, expand the family. And when I had went to start talking with my OB at the time about having another baby, they recommended a scheduled C-section. And I didn't know enough at that point to advocate for myself. which is hard because when I look back, I remember saying I wanted a VBAC. And I remember specifically being told, well, I don't feel comfortable, you know, doing a VBAC. So at that point, I'm 26 at this point. I'm still, young. I've had experience, but I'm going to listen to my doctor. And so I just kind of was like, you know what? All right. They sold me on the come in 39 weeks, do your makeup, pick the date. It's easy. You don't have to go through labor, like all the things. And I went in and I had my second baby. And then I think with all of my experience in motherhood and then ending up in the integrative health field on this holistic journey, there was a lot about, birth being over medicalized and just how things from your past can be carried and stored in your body. And
Mm.
so, as I was working on my gut health and balancing my hormones, all of a sudden, all this like grief came up. And I'm having conversations with my husband, that I am feeling like I was robbed of being able to do something that God created my body to do. And so I was like, I don't know, like, I don't know if I want to have another baby because at this point, like, our kids are in middle school and high school. So we're kind of like they're getting to a point where they're independent. My husband and I were young when we started dating and when we got together. So it was like now we're kind of in this phase where we can like focus on each other kind of thing.
Mhm.
And all my siblings were having babies. And the more they kept bringing the kids around, the more my husband and I were like, we love having these little ones around. But we were not like planning. Like we were really not like, there was no like, okay, track my fertility. Like, we're going to have another baby, telling our family any of that. It was just kind of like we've used natural family planning for 17 years. And so, ironically, the saying of you sink to the women you live around,
Yeah.
well, my daughter and I, our cycle synced and it threw my cycle off enough for me and my fertile window to
Yeah.
completely, just collide. And essentially, where I thought I was in the beginning of my window, I was a little more fertile than I had realized at the time. And we ended up getting pregnant in June. So we found out beginning of July. So June last summer of 2025. So we've got a daughter getting ready to go to high school or go to college, and we've got a son entering middle school, and we find out we're pregnant. And we just like, whoa, like life is gonna change, This is like, wow. It was crazy. I have the video of me seeing the pregnancy test, like, holy moly, this is really happening. Yeah. And then we just kind of at that point, we were like, okay, we're going to embrace this. Like, this is a gift from God. And I said to my husband, I'm like, if I've been given this chance to do this again, like, I want to do this right. Like, I really want to have this redemptive birth. Like, I want to have a natural birth. I don't want medication. I really want to feel like I'm in control. I want to, have the Lord by my side through this. Like, please fill the room with the Holy Spirit. I want to be prayed over. Like, all the things when it comes to really being able to truly do what again God created me and women, to do. It's our birthright.
Mm.
And so it was right from the beginning, it was kind of like I had made that decision, like I'm going to have a VBAC. Like it's not an option to have another C-section. I'm going to have a VBAC. And then it
Right.
was learning, okay, I need to find the right support, who can help me make this a possibility. And there was a lot of people who were like, no, you need to have another C-section, like uterine rupture, uterine rupture. And then
Mm.
I found some wonderful midwives who were just so kind and loving, and they listened and they heard me, and it was a completely different experience of OBGYN care that I had ever experienced, with my other two. And yeah, they were like, you know what, if you want to have this VBAC, like you're knowledgeable, you're healthy, and my pregnancy was beautiful. And so it was just amazing to me because once I had the right support, now all of a sudden, my body was capable. And
Right?
but I needed to believe that, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I had to have somebody tell me like, you can do this, as
Mhm.
opposed to when I had my second, it was
Mhm.
like, no, I don't feel comfortable. Like your
Right.
body really, you did it the first time. So we should, schedule a C-section the second time, really. It wasn't
Yeah.
like, okay, well, what caused that C-section? There wasn't really a need for it. It was truly because I was young and my baby was past my due date. But
Right.
at that point, like, who's telling you that, oh, well, you can have a healthy, like, full term pregnancy, 42 weeks? Like,
Yeah.
nobody was telling you that. They're making it seem like they need to get that baby out of me, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
And so I've learned a lot too, because I know my body. And when it comes to detoxification and methylation, like, my body is not a body that handles all these synthetic toxins. My body says
Mhm.
no. So I've
Mm.
learned too, like, those interventions, unfortunately, the Pitocin did not help. It made things worse. The epidural, my epidural failed. Like, it wasn't anything that was a benefit to me. And I get that that can be for some women, like, they need that to feel like they can have the energy and feel like, okay, I can actually do this, because it is painful. And it's not just the physical, it's the mental. You're vulnerable, you're exhausted sometimes. So
Mhm.
I understand why people need those interventions. But for me, I was kind of like, well, I responded negatively to these interventions prior. So what if I
Mhm.
just allowed my body to do what it needed to do and supported it, right?
Right?
Like, took the supplements that my body needed, like real methylated folate, not
Mhm.
synthetic folic acid, in terms of, the right type of prenatals, and
Yep.
making sure I'm getting enough protein and I'm
Mhm.
electrolytes. So I'm staying hydrated, I'm moving, I'm happy and in
Right.
positive environments, like doing all these things and thinking all these positive things, instead of, well, my body is broken, or, my pelvic bone is too small or shifted the wrong way, or whatever, women
Mhm.
are told. It's like, when you're told those things and you hear that over and over and over, you start to believe those things.
Right.
So, the fear that consumes you, like,
Mhm.
your body needs to be in a relaxed
Yeah.
state. Your nervous system needs to be
Yes.
regulated, not dysregulated.
Mhm.
And fear is going to create dysregulation and tension in your body.
Absolutely.
And so it really was like, okay, I know I need to do the things to support my body. I saw a chiropractor my entire visit. She was my doula, and I had her with me the entire time. So that was amazing.
Love that.
And then I saw a pelvic floor therapist at the, like, tail end of my pregnancy. Like, once I hit 36 weeks, I started, really doing the things that I needed to do to support my body, because I wanted to go into natural labor on my own and
Mhm.
not have an induction. It was like, let's do this spontaneously. Let's see what the body is capable of. When is the baby
Yes.
right? When he's ready, he'll come, never experienced that. So it was like all these things that I, had never experienced before. I had to really allow myself to understand, like, yes, there is a chance that there could be a C-section, but really, like, if you prepare yourself and
Mhm.
you really want to have this natural birth, like, you are so capable. Like, God wants this for you. And it was the most incredible experience of my life. Like, I would do it all over again. So it really, I I pray that other women, when there's trauma and you're feeling that trauma, it's important to grieve through it, because had I not realized that, then I don't think I would have gotten to this point that I'm at right now, in terms of even being open to the idea of
Yeah.
having another baby.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful, because like, it's been the most healing experience of my life. So many other women have this story, in their own way,
Mhm.
to be able to tell. And I'm grateful that I get the opportunity to tell it with you. And I know I haven't gotten into, like, the nitty gritty of the actual birth, but, I just, to preface for so many women that are going to come across this podcast and listen,
Mhm.
don't give up hope, I'd say, because at the end of the day, God's plans are so much greater. And if you believe that it's possible, he will carry you through it. He will
Yes.
carry you through. Like he was with me through the whole thing. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Oh, well, I can't wait to hear all of the details, but I also just wanted to highlight how much I love how you just took responsibility in this 3rd pregnancy. You weren't gonna outsource your decision making to someone else, which I think what so many women do, and I love how you said too, you really do you have to grieve, when your birth didn't go the way that you wanted it to go, and or that you expected it to go, or that it was just totally not, it wasn't what you were expecting. And
Mhm.
you have to grieve that, otherwise it sticks and it stays and it manifests in weird ways, and
It
yeah,
does. And I've
absolutely.
seen, I'll tell you this, and my husband and I talk about this. I've seen it in my kids. Like, I can
Yeah.
see how my daughter's, like, anxieties and, like, nervous system dysregulation, like, as a toddler. I was her preschool teacher, and now I'm her homeschool teacher. Like, she's got other teachers, but I spent a lot of time with her, as a teenager turning into this young woman, and
Mhm.
I think about, like, her birth and the effects that their birth and how they're brought into the world has on them through their development as they grow up. And there's things that I think about now. Thankfully, I had a beautiful breastfeeding journey with
Mhm.
both of my children prior to this. So I feel so grateful for that because I feel like that really was another huge help in terms of helping their bodies heal and
Yeah.
giving their bodies, what it needed in terms of not having the all of the bacteria from the microbiome from the vaginal canal, which they didn't get to experience going through that birth canal because they were
Mhm.
cut out.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm grateful for that stuff.
And about the breastfeeding, I think it's healing for women if when they have a traumatic birth and then they still end up, having a positive breastfeeding journey, it helps us trust our bodies again,
Yes.
you know? Mhm.
Just because you have trauma in your birth does not mean, again, that your body is not capable. Because
Right.
I,
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing too. Is like I wanted to nurse my babies
Mm.
at 20. Was it weird to me at first? Yeah, it was. And then it was like once she latched on and we got through it, and it was hard with her at first. Like I remember having nipples that were
Mhm.
bleeding, and I remember getting mastitis once, and it was a new journey for me. I was young. Like there was just a lot going on at that time in my life. And at that point, like there was just this bond that I instantly felt being able to give my baby something that nobody else could.
Mhm.
Anytime she struggled and was showing stress, like I could nurse her and she would calm down. And so that for me was worth fighting because obviously, a surgery is traumatic. We don't really think about the effects that it has on baby either. And that, as a microbiome specialist, I can say truthfully, like when baby doesn't get all of that good bacteria from mom because
Mhm.
they don't go through the vaginal canal, you know, they do come out of into the world with more risks, more allergies, more
Right.
eczema. My kids struggled horribly with constipation when they were toddlers.
Yeah.
And so I've learned so much about how that can contribute. But at the same time, like I still was able to breastfeed successfully, like till they were 3 and 4, both of them. It was
Nice.
amazing.
Beautiful.
So, like, yeah, don't feel discouraged in those ways. I would say, like, if you have it on your heart and you truly feel like it's something that you want
Mhm.
to be able to do, it's going to take work and it's going to,
Right.
at times feel so frustrating and so hard and difficult and you're overwhelmed. But if that's what you want, that God created our bodies to do it. And I
Mhm.
can say that successfully 2 breastfeeding journeys, 2 C-sections,
Mhm.
and now a natural birth and another successful breastfeeding journey so far.
Yeah.
So it really that was, the silver lining for me when it came to at least I didn't have these births that were, beautiful and wonderful and amazing the first 2 times.
Mhm.
There was a lot of medicalization. There
Mhm.
was a lot of medicine and feeling
Mhm.
drugged and groggy and tired and
Yeah.
all the things that came with a surgery, the constipation that followed, like it
Yeah.
was a lot.
Mhm.
But was I able to successfully breastfeed my children? yes, I was, you know? So
Yeah.
I will take that. And I always say that to my husband. At least, even though their births were not something that I look back and, feel peaceful with, I was able to have wonderful nursing journeys with them. So you kind of have to take, what you
Yeah.
can and take those little glimmers of hope
Yeah.
and let them fuel you so that you can keep going. Because if I didn't, then, again, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in. My thoughts and feelings around birth would have prevented me from even being in this position of having a 12-week-old at home right now with me, you know? So I'm
Yes.
glad you said that
I
because
love that
it,
you
it,
say
it
that.
is surgery's tough,
Yeah.
when you're
It
going
is.
through that. And so many women struggle afterwards because it's a
Yeah.
lot on your body to recover from birth.
Mhm.
Like you were just pregnant and you just had a major surgery. That's a lot to recover from,
That
you
is a
know?
lot. That is a lot. And I was also gonna say that, like me with my epidural Pitocin experience, and or women who've had C-sections, sometimes women really, really do struggle with breastfeeding after that. And it's like, we also have to understand that when you alter the hormonal dance that's going on during labor, or you bypass it with surgery or, whatever,
Mhm.
you can't really expect your body to then suddenly do the hormonal dance that is
You
required
got
for
it.
breastfeeding. And
You got
so
it.
and women are all just like, shell shocked, like, "Why okay, I wasn't didn't have the birth that I wanted to have, but now breastfeeding isn't working either?" And it's like, well, it's not really a shock that that your milk isn't coming in or whatever, because your hormones have been completely disrupted, with the
You
drug.
got it.
And so, but
Yep.
thank goodness, sometimes women still are able to lactate after that, but a lot of times, like, why are we seeing these huge increases in women who are,
Oh, I know.
formula feeding?
I know. Because I think for a lot of women, and I speak as someone who has been through two major C-sections,
Mhm.
you're trying to recover. You're taking all these you're on like Motrin Tylenol every 4 to 6
Mhm.
hours, and then they have you on some sort of like narcotic. For me, I was the oxycodones and the
Mhm.
Percocets made me very sick. I was so sensitive to that stuff. And I remember being really concerned, like, is this going to end up in my breast milk? Like, is this
Right.
baby going to be exposed to this? They'd tell you it was safe, but like, come on. I
Come
mean,
on.
let's be
Yeah,
real
come
here.
on.
They tell you not to drink alcohol, but yet they're giving you
I
really powerful.
right,
Exactly.
like, come on.
So,
Like,
like, come on.
yeah,
So, but I remember they put me on Dilaudid and it would like make me want to go to sleep. I was just
yeah,
so tired, like all the time. It was awful. And it just, that was the other thing too. Like this experience, with my son Maverick, like being present and the high that came from what I experienced, like that adrenaline, like
yeah,
it was the oxytocin was pumping. Like it was
right.
amazing, what you experience. And it's like that makes you want to do it again. Like that makes you, that's like, well, now I finally understand. That was me. I finally understand why women want to do this again and again and
Yes.
again because you don't feel like that after surgeries. You're
Mhm.
coming out of surgeries, they're rolling you into recovery. You haven't eaten anything. You can't go to the bathroom. You're on drugs. They're trying to make sure you're not getting blood clots. Like,
Mhm.
and your baby, most of the time, you're not getting that first 3 hour, 1 hour, however long your birth plan has it out.
Yeah,
Your golden hour time where you're
right.
getting that skin to skin, like
Which
you're
again
not
helps
really
establish
experiencing it.
breastfeeding,
Yeah.
like
I mean, I got
Mhm.
some of that, but not all of it. Not
Yeah.
in the same way that I did this time around,
The birth high thing is, I think, one of the biggest, quote, unquote, like, "trophies" of a natural birth, because everybody's like, "Well, why? Like, why?" It's like, well, honestly, birth is hard, right? But it's like, pick your hard, because birth, yeah,
Pick your
labor and birth
heart.
is so hard, but the after of an epidural Pitocin or a C-section birth, like, you're not present. You're not as present as you
No,
should be with your baby, you know?
not at all.
Like, I
And I
wanna be
see that.
present when my babies are born,
Yes.
and
I've
it's
said that
just so
over
hard.
and over again. It's so true. You said that like perfectly because if when people ask me like what's the difference, I'm like I was so like you're medicated, you're just like exhausted. Your body is healing from a major surgery. Like a
Mhm.
C-section is not just a C-section, it's a major surgery. Like I
Right.
don't we just kind of like, "Oh, did you have a C-section or a natural birth?" You had a major surgery to bring your baby into the world,
Right. Mhm.
And so it is, you don't feel that sense of presence. You don't
Yeah.
feel, that liberation
Yeah.
that you experience when you push a baby out. Like it is so liberating. You feel so powerful. You're just like, it is. It's like everything that you worked so hard for, there's like now it's on your chest and it's just like the most emotional, amazing thing in the world. It is the best.
Gosh.
Absolutely.
Well, we should get into your redemptive birth
Yes.
story then.
Yes.
Why don't you start off, like, when did labor begin for you? Was it, like, right away with a bang, or did it kind of slowly begin?
So it was slow for me. I mean, my full experience was just over 30 hours. So when I say that, I was 39 weeks. I was teaching my preschoolers on Monday. I had him on Thursday. So things from Monday, I remember feeling like I needed to kind of sit down in my afternoon preschool class, and my assistant looked at me and was like, "You're having contractions." But I, again, had never experienced this before. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, like, is this like the real thing, or is like, Braxton Hicks, like, I don't know what a real contraction really feels like.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, like 39 weeks, like I could still have a couple more weeks of this. Like, who knows? So I didn't like really think like, okay, this is happening. But then by Tuesday, my husband and I were at Kohl's and we were searching for pants for him. And as he was walking around, I was like, babe, like I'm feeling like these contractions and they're like stopping me in my tracks. Like I'm like, I need to like stop for a second here. And so I knew, I was like, this is different. Like if I can't like walk around and like just keep walking, I'm actually having to like stop and like focus on my breathing. Like something's going on. I think my body's getting ready. But I had totally been convinced I was going to be like 41 weeks, truly, because that was my first birth. I was with Morgan, I was 40 weeks and 4 days. So I was almost 41 weeks. They wanted me to get her out before I hit 41 weeks. And
Right.
so I was like, okay, like I'm not gonna like get it into my head or anything like that. Like I'm just gonna let my body do what it needs to do. Well, when we came home by like 10:30, things were like starting to like pick up. And then I had downloaded the little contraction calculator and I'm starting to track them. And I've got my birth team. I had my integrative health practitioner, Alicia, my chiropractor, who is also my doula, Brooke, and then my sister-in-law, Lauren, who had had her babies all in birthing centers. So she had experienced the natural birth, really, really motivated me to like want to do this. After witnessing one of her birth stories, I got to see it and I was like, oh my gosh, that was the most beautiful thing ever. And so, like, here I'm like, okay, like, I know I can do this. I have no idea what this feels like. I have no idea what to expect, but I've got my team. I've got my calculator. My husband was ready. Like, he was kind of like just hanging out. So he's like starting to doze off on the couch. And my son, who is 11, is literally messaging my birth team. And I'm in the bathroom and it's probably at like 11 o'clock at this point, and I'm starting to lose my mucus plugs. So now I'm like, okay, wait a second. This must be the bloody show. What they tell everyone is the bloody show. I'm experiencing this, like, never experienced it before. So, like, it was funny because these little things were kind of exciting to me because, again, like, here, this is my third birth, and who knew? Like, I didn't know my body could do this stuff, kind of thing. And so I knew I wanted to stay home and labor at home as long as possible because I knew if I stayed at home, the longer I was at home, the less I was going to have the risk of any unnecessary medical interventions. So I ended up making it until about 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, at that point, babe, I haven't been able to sleep. I'm like pacing up and down around the house, rocking back and forth on the countertops. I've got my ball, all the things, hospital bags packed. And I'm like, all right, it's time to go in. So we end up texting my birth team. They're getting ready. I get in there. I'm having contractions back to back, but I'm not dilated yet. So the midwife that's in there is like, I think we're going to have to send you home.
Mm,
And I'm like, no, I
no.
can't go home. You don't understand.
Wait, sorry, you had a cervical exam right in triage when you arrived at the hospital?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So, and that was like the first time because they were really good. Like, I didn't have exams throughout
Yeah.
my third pregnancy, which was routine the first two. So, I didn't know that I didn't have to have these cervical exams. And so, I was kind of shocked at that point because I'm having these contractions so frequently at this point now. We've got the 411 rule, which is when we decided to finally make the
Mhm.
call and go in. And so, I was like, crap, now I was getting a little nervous because I never progressed past 4 centimeters with my first. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope my body can do this. And then my birth team got in there and they were like, nope, like just keep leaning into these
Yes.
contractions. Like if you have to stay in triage, we're just gonna
Yeah.
push them off. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna stay in here. Like, don't get worried about going home. If anything, we'll find you a hotel. Because I was like, my kids don't want to see me in pain. They're old
Mhm.
enough to understand what's going on. My daughter is gonna have children within the next 10 years. I don't want her to have a negative feeling towards birth. Like, they already had different feelings in the beginning of this pregnancy when they found out their mom was pregnant. Like, it was culture shock for all of us.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to respect their wishes on that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so I got so blessed because the one midwife that I connected with the most throughout my entire pregnancy, she told me when I came in that she would come in for me. She's like, I
Mhm.
normally don't come in on call. She's like, I normally, like, if it's not her being on call, like,
Right.
she's like, I normally don't come in at night. She's like, she's older. She's like, but I will make an exception for you. So sure enough, she ends up coming in. She sees my name come through the system. She comes in, and that woman fought for me to get a room. And she was like, no, you're not going home. She's like, not when you're contracting like this. So by
Yeah.
the time I
Oh,
got in there,
I would like to just say also that this is why cervical exams mean literally nothing. Like,
I
I just
know.
don't believe it. I think that they don't matter. I think that women can go from 0 to 10 in 30 minutes. Yeah. So,
Because it puts this expectation
yeah.
on you. And then when you're not meeting that expectation, you feel like you're failing. And that's the thing that's so frustrating.
And you feel
It's like,
fear and doubt, and then that inhibits your flow of oxytocin, which is what
you
drives
got
labor.
You got it.
Yes.
You ask how many women end up with a C-section. Oh, I ended up with a C-section because I had
Yep.
failure to progress. Well, of course, because you were not set up, to be supported well in those times. Like
Right.
it's very frustrating. And that I was very grateful that I had that midwife there
Yes.
because like I said, she was like, no, I'm getting you a room. And
Mhm.
what was crazy is when I got there between 4:30 and 5 o'clock. And when I got into that room, I was 4 centimeters. So I went from 0 to 4 really quick.
Yep.
And then I'm in there.
Oh, and
I
I
went,
was also gonna say, praise the Lord for this wonderful support team that you had in place. You picked all these people, you had this support ready to go to advocate for you. If you're gonna go into the hospital, you need people who are there to
you
stand up for
have
you.
to,
Yeah.
you have to. Honestly, Sarah, like if
Mhm.
I could give any mama advice, you have to have a good support team because you are going to be vulnerable and there's going to be times where you need the people there to advocate for you because you can't advocate for yourself. And I'm a health practitioner. I had a 3-page birth plan. Like, your
Mhm.
girl is informed. I know the information. Like,
Right.
but I was vulnerable by hour 29, let me tell you,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Mhm.
So I was so grateful, like so grateful. And I know sometimes like the hospitals will say like you can only have so many support people. No, there was like stuff written. Nobody gave me a hard time at all. My sister-in-law, I was like, this is my sister-in-law, my integrative health practitioner, my doula, my husband.
Yep.
Nobody said a word. So
Good.
don't get yourself worried about that because that was another thing. People are like, how are you going to be able to have all those people? You can't have all those people. I'm like, watch me have all these people. Like, yes, I will have this support team.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything. So they really,
Yeah.
I mean, when I got into that room, they really just took over. They put my diffuser on. My lights were dim. They had worship music playing for me. I had playlists. I had worked with my husband's best friend growing up. His wife is a music therapist. And so she works with women and helps them to put birth playlist together. It was so amazing. So like through the different like phases and like transitions of birth,
Yeah.
you had different music to like really help, like when you were feeling frustrated, like really positive music, like when you were pushing, like there was like different worship music that was like about surrender, and like it was just amazing how it all
Mhm.
kind of just pieced itself together in the moments that I needed those things. Like I would have Forrest Frank on, and my husband and
Oh,
I
I
are
love
just
that.
like, there's footage of us like going back and forth, and we're rocking back and forth and we're singing together. And it was like that was helping that oxytocin flow,
Right.
exactly what you were talking about, instead of my body being tense and
Mhm.
me laying in a bed the whole time.
Yeah.
And I had said to them too, I'm not having the fetal monitoring. And they were like, well, you really need to. And I was like, well, I get really sensitive when I have things on my stomach. Like I had kinesiology tape to have my stomach taped like towards the end by my chiropractor.
Uh,
And it totally caused me to have like red irritation. So I was like, you know what? I don't want anything on my stomach. I was like, I was sensitive to that. So I'd prefer not. And they came in every 15 minutes with a Doppler and they just did it manually.
Yep.
So like they'll fight you a little bit, but if you fight back, you have the last word, honestly. And it's in the way you say it too. Like when I say fight, I'm not saying be a jerk. Like
Right.
be kind, be loving, be graceful, say thank you. Like I know you don't always feel that in the moments when you're tired and in pain and vulnerable.
Yeah.
But that was something too, like I knew going into it, like no matter what, the way you talk is
Mhm.
going to ultimately influence the type of care you receive. So have your birth plan, have your team to advocate for you. But like I was 6 centimeters in, 12 hours into labor, and they had the OBs come in, the one that was on the shift and the one that was coming into her shift. And they came in, and that was a whole thing because I had met with an OB prior back in December who made me sign off on everything because I wanted the VBAC and had to explain the whole uterine rupture thing and like the risk of having a VBAC after 2 C-sections, yada, yada. I was so irritated when I left that visit because I felt like they were trying to scare me into having a surgery. And she was like, I need to put things into the VBAC calculator and see like what your percentage is. And I was like, I'm going to give that to God. I was like, I'm going
Yeah.
to trust my Lord and Savior over a computer. Thank you very much. Like, please refrain.
Mhm.
But they came in like
It's just
it
all
was
about liability too, you know?
so
They
much
just don't wanna
liability.
get sued, fair, okay,
Of
fine.
course,
So they're gonna
there.
come in and say their piece about here are the risks, but did they also mention all of the risks that are associated with C-sections?
That's what I said. I started going, I'm like, I'm a microbiome specialist. Like, do you let moms know that like baby and mom's microbiome are like at major risk of having gut imbalances and
Mhm.
causing dysbiosis and things when they have these
Yeah.
major cesareans? Like, this is a C-section. Again, it's a major surgery. Like, we need to talk about these things. We need to talk about the gut and the
Mhm.
brain. Do we not look at like how women that have C-sections often have higher rates of postpartum depression? They're
Mhm.
on drugs, they're feeling disconnected to their babies, their body's been through major trauma. Like, do we want to
Mhm.
have those conversations? And she was feeling me and I was feeling her. And she knew there was nothing she was going to say that was going to change my mind. So I was like, respectful.
Yeah.
But when they came into my room during labor, here
Mhm.
I'm 12 hours in, I'm 6 centimeters dilated. I just want to have this baby naturally. And all of a sudden now it's like, well, first they come in and they're like, sorry, we were supposed to come in earlier, but there's been an abnormal amount of emergencies today.
Gee,
Thank you for
thanks.
coming in like
Yeah,
that.
like, who says that to a laboring woman? Like, I just
Yeah.
don't understand. They just don't understand birth physiology and that we're supposed to approach a birthing, laboring woman
Yes.
gently, peacefully. We don't need
Gently.
to bring in any of that
No,
outside stuff. That doesn't matter. That stays outside of the birth
there
room.
was
Like,
no gentle. Yeah, no, it was, my birth team was like, and so they were sitting there and they were like, we just got to let you know because you are a VBAC after 2 cesareans, that your chance of uterine rupture is higher, that
okay, did
ultimately.
they mention that that higher risk is still like less than 2%? Like,
Oh,
come
no.
on.
Then they go on to tell me that I could also end up needing a blood transfusion, a full hysterectomy or that I could end up dying. I'm sitting there. I literally looked at them while they tell me this, Sarah. And I'm like, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. I said that to these women. I
Oh,
was like, I
baby.
am so far into labor at this point. Like my body has gotten further than it's ever gotten before. And you're gonna come in here and try to scare me at this point? Like,
No.
no, thank you. No,
Right.
thank you.
And that's not to
You know,
downplay that sometimes emergencies do happen.
it
Sure.
does happen.
Sometimes they do. But this isn't the time for that kind of information.
And
You know?
mentally,
Yeah.
your body, when you
Right.
talk about physiology, when you're
Exactly.
scared, you're tense, it's going to affect that oxytocin. It's going to
Exactly.
create more tension in the body. Your adrenaline is going to spike. That's going to cause blood pressure to spike. That's going
Yeah.
to cause baby's heart rate. Like that is causing distress to mom, distress to baby.
Right.
Those are the things that often lead to unnecessary intervention. And
Exactly.
so I just was kind of like at that point,
So,
like,
yeah, how did you maintain nervous system regulation through that?
the Lord, and
The
then the
Lord,
girls
praise
prayed
Jesus.
over me
Yeah.
afterwards. I'm not even
Yeah.
kidding. They laid their hands on me, my birth team. They prayed
Oh,
over me. They anointed me with oils. I had homeopathics. Like I had a whole childbirth like homeopathy kit with me,
yeah.
and my integrative health practitioner was just giving me what I needed. So there was like some birth trauma and anxiety ones,
Yeah.
and she told me that she had given those to me like because they could all sense like at that point, like there was anxiety that built up in me
Yeah.
because I remember after that, like I was worried that the contractions and the pain that I was feeling was associated with the uterine rupture. So I
Right.
was starting to get really nervous. So
Mhm.
they got me like to a place where I felt completely at peace again. And I'm so thankful. And that's another reason why I
Praise the
advocate
Lord.
for, a amazing support team because they were nourishing me, massaging me. Like my chiropractor, Brooke, who is also my doula, she had her TENS unit, she had her massage gun, they had body oil and they're massaging me. I mean, it was unbelievable. I had the tub, I'm in and out of the tub. I'm naked, and these women are literally holding me as I'm rocking in their arms. Like it was
Mhm.
incredible. And so that continued like 12 hours, and it was just all of that. It was worshiping, it was praying, it was massage, it was in and out of the tub. Like, and we just kept moving. We kept
Mhm.
moving. She had, or my chiropractor had like it was like this, like, cloth that you put up on the door and you, like,
Yeah.
pull it.
The birth
And
sling.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, just, like, all these different things for me. I had clary sage essential oils. I had, you know, protein sticks, electrolytes. I mean, they're
Incredible.
feeding me. I mean, massaging my feet, like, all the things that a woman in labor needed to be able to move through the pain and be able to focus on connecting with my body and my baby and the Holy Spirit, they provided all of that. Most women don't have that. They're standing there, they're experiencing all of this pain, and then they end up in a bed the majority of the time
Mhm.
because they don't know what else to do. And the person that often is there with them, it's hard for them to see your partner in that much pain. My husband,
Yeah.
I knew my support team was just as much for him as it was for me,
Yeah.
And he said to me, he's like, babe, after 20 years we've been together, that bonded us more than anything has because he was like, watching you go through all of that, like, girl, you're a rock star. Like, he had so much appreciation and respect, but he was a huge part of the process because he was advocating for me.
Yeah.
Like, this is her birth plan. You need to read this because it did at one point. I ended up so like from 12, so I get to 12. That's when the OBs came in. After that, like I said, I experienced some anxiety.
Like 12
Then my
PM, like noonish, that was around then? Or wait, so to give us
12,
a
so
timeline.
12, so I got in the hospital at like 4:30 in the morning. So this is like at this point, I don't even know. I
I
don't even
know.
remember
Birth
like
is so hazy. There's no
Right.
time
That's the
in
thing,
labor
the
land.
concept of time. I look back, my husband was saying that he's like, when you look back at the timestamp on those videos, like, babe, it was like 10 o'clock at night. Like
Mhm.
you didn't give birth until 4:28 the next morning.
Wild.
Yeah. So I got into triage around 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I had him at 4:28 Thursday morning.
Gotcha. So you're there
So
for
it
like
was
almost a full
30
24 hours.
hours.
Yeah.
Yes, by the time start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, in and out of the tub. I had all of the support between the massage gun, TENS unit. I was being oiled down. I was being prayed over. I was moving. I was walking, like all these things. I was staying hydrated. I was being fueled, which they don't often allow you to do,
Mhm.
if you don't
Allow,
know.
yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Because ultimately there's always that, gotta prepare you for surgery. What happens if
Oh,
you
yeah.
have surgery? There's always that mindset of surgery, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And so when you think about that, it's like, but is it really good for a woman to be going through all of that if they're not fueled properly, if they're not nourished, if they're not hydrated? Like, no.
That like,
If you're
literally,
dehydrated, what happens?
you're starving and dehydrating a laboring
Yes.
woman and then expecting her labor process to still work? Like, make that make sense to me. It requires
And
so
then
much energy to labor.
And then you have a lot of the time on top of that, you pair that with drugs and it's
Right.
like a whole catastrophe. You know what I mean? It's just
Yes.
like, think about what's happening inside of a woman's body. You can't see it.
Mhm.
Now the woman's feeling it,
Yeah.
that's why you guys are feeling all of
Mhm.
these, extreme
Yep.
contractions and, these contractions that literally like take your breath away. They hurt so
Yeah.
bad. Like the way they portray birth, even in Hollywood and like the movies and like no, like, I didn't
No.
even make a peep when I was pushing. I was quiet. I was in, like, a meditative state. I was by the time I got to n 9 c when I got to 9 centimeters, so the issue is that I had the lip of the cervix in the way of me being able to push the baby out.
Mm.
So the one midwife was like, okay, like she needs to rest because she needs to have the energy to push. But until that lip of the cervix is out of the way, like she can't push yet because that baby's not going to be able to come out. So they're like, we need to stimulate contractions. So instead of going the epidural route and having to worry about Pitocin and all of that, we ended up getting a breast pump. And
Mm.
I'm literally sitting on the toilet and my birth team is holding the breast pump on me. And I'm like feeling like I've got to poop and I've got a baby that's coming all at the same time. And
Mhm.
all I wanted to do was sit on the toilet because that was the most comfortable position. And we got those contractions going and I contracted like 10 times in an hour. And then it was next thing you know, I got up in that bed quiet and I literally pushed him out in an hour. And the entire time I just remember being like, it's me, you, and Jesus, Mav. And it was just me and the Holy Spirit and me connecting with my baby and just really focusing on, God created my body to do this. Is there going to be pain? Yes. I was anticipating the ring of fire. Like I knew I was going to feel it, but I wanted to feel it. That's what I kept
No.
reminding myself. Like, that's the whole point, Meg. Like, this is why you wanted this unmedicated birth. This is why you wanted this natural birth. You want to feel this. So, as much as it's hard to be in all of this pain and you're exhausted and, you've been doing this for 30 hours, like, think about what's going to be on the other side of this. Like, you've read these birth stories, the birth high is coming. And it just I mean, it was amazing. Like, next thing you know, it was just I just remember it being so serene and so quiet in the room. And them being the voices were just so calm and so gentle. And I got my husband and I got my birth team and they're like, "Come on, Meg. You're doing it, Meg. But so like
Mhm.
gentle and like
Mhm.
just encouraging me and just it was just so peaceful and I'm just like in this like out of body experience, like, oh my gosh, like I'm actually doing this. Like I'm really doing this. I'm pushing a baby out. Like there's a baby coming out of my vagina. I have wanted this for so long. And I think I was just in this deep meditative state, truly, that like nothing could keep me from being focused on my body, my baby, and the Holy Spirit and that was it. And
Mhm.
he came out and they put him on my chest. And at first, I was a little nervous because he had swallowed a lot of fluid. So they were kind of abrasive with him and
Mm.
they had to get the fluid out. But once they got that fluid out of him, he was on my chest, latched onto my boob within 5 minutes. And I just cried, bawled my eyes out. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I have the picture of me with my hand up, like the victory. It was just, it was amazing. And then they said, I started talking about gut health with the nurses, and they were like, she's back. Like, I like went away for a little while. I had to push the baby out, and then I was revived. And
Yes.
that adrenaline probably lasted me like 2 weeks, honestly, until I crashed. And then it was like, okay, my body just did something major. I really need to focus on the rest. And so I did. Once I hit like that 3rd week, I was like, okay, Anthony, we got to slow down with the visitors. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know I'm not like, having like these major issues because I had surgery this time around, but like I'm still like leaking fluids, and
Mhm.
like I still did like push a baby out of my vagina, and I've never experienced that before. So like feels a little weird down there, like different
Yeah.
sensations and things, like just there was so much going on, but I was just so like in the state of awe, like I can't believe we did this. Like I
Yeah.
can't like we did this. And it was just the most amazing thing ever, and I literally would do it again. I would do it even if it took 30 hours, I would do it again, because the whole process of trusting my body, connecting with my husband, connecting with my baby, my birth team, feeling supported as a woman who's vulnerable, naked, like literally being carried by these women.
Mm.
That's what it should be like. That's what our village should be like. Like, birth is beautiful. That's what we should experience. We shouldn't be worried about whether or not we're pooping, or if our makeup's done, or, if we have the perfect content to post on social media. Like, no, like it's
Yeah.
such a beautiful, raw, real experience. And to be immersed and be present in all of that, not drugged, not distracted, like it is the most incredible thing. Like, I have healed in ways I am not the same person,
Mhm.
and in a better way. Like, it's like the emergence of a butterfly almost. Like, you've been like in this cocoon for so long,
Yes.
and all of a sudden you just like emerge, and it's like my body did that. Like,
Mhm.
not only did I grow that human, but like my body did that. And it just it's the most incredible thing. Like, it makes me so emotional thinking about it, because I want that for every woman who wants that. Like, if that's like what you dream of, if that's something that's going to be healing for you, you know, I think so many women feel afraid to have kids because, again, the trauma that birth can not only cause you to experience in those moments, but that is buried with you after the fact, and how it
Mhm.
can play a role into postpartum and those hormones. And I can understand why so many women are like, no, I'm done. I don't want to do that.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, like, being a mother is the most incredible gift. Like,
Mhm.
it's literally what we were made to be, what we were created to do. And I understand that it's not for everybody, but I do understand that there are so many women out there that are trying so hard to grow and conceive children and be able to have successful pregnancies. And it really comes back to trusting your body, being able to give your body the nourishment that it needs, the rest that it needs, your nervous system. I mean, as an
Mhm.
integrative health practitioner, I can't preach that enough,
Yeah.
because the reality is I wasn't trying to get pregnant. We have used natural family planning for the last 18 years. But at the end of the day, I healed my gut, I balanced my hormones, and my body felt safe.
To
And
conceive a
God
baby.
said, guess what? It's time for you to do this all over again. And if you trust in me, I'm going to give you that redemptive birth that I know. If anybody knows me, it's the Lord. So he knew that that was something that was so unsettling for me, something that was literally eating at me in ways,
Mhm.
because I was dealing with this grief of not being able to do something that I so badly wanted,
Mhm.
but had always been told, like, no, you're just going to have a C section like your mom. No, your pelvis is too small. No, like, the story
Mhm.
had been written before I even had a chance to write it, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
And so it was like he not only did he give me my power back, but like it was like he handed me that pencil, that paper, and was like, guess what? Like you get to rewrite this. Like your birth story does not end with trauma. We're gonna redeem this.
Yeah.
And that third birth is gonna be a birth of miracles. And it was. It was the most miraculous thing I've ever experienced. Like I just
God restores
I
all, yeah.
I pray, like I just pray that so many women can experience that and that God in all of it, we recognize he is good. He is good through the pain, he is good through the heartache. When we can't understand in those moments when it feels like why me? Why did you do this to me? Why did you allow me to experience this trauma? Why did you rob me of my birth experience? It's just it literally is preparing you for something greater than you can even imagine,
Gosh,
you know?
amen. You just reminded
That
me of Jesus on the cross saying, like,
oh,
my God, why have you forsaken me?" And it's like, because he had this plan for you, and it was because of that he let you go through that trauma before,
uh,
knowing that he would restore it all now if you let him.
literally,
And I
literally.
can't help but keep thinking, as you were saying, like, after your first 2 births, like, how you were like, "I don't want any more kids," or, like, how women might go through that and think, "I don't want any more kids." And how that's the devil. That's the devil coming into
Literally,
births and
it
wanting
so is.
to convince women that they don't want that. No, and then after this
It's
kind of a birth, because when women experience birth like this, they do. They see like, wow, like I want to have 12 kids.
literally, I said my sister-in-law and we joke back and forth, but we send each other reels all the time. We're like, we're gonna become those people. Like we're gonna
Yeah.
literally become the moms that have all the kids that you see on Instagram, and you're like, oh my gosh, how do you have so many kids? It's how do you enjoy because it's just like this most transformative, addictive. Like it's like, and then you think about that, like you love your child so much, like that's how much God love you.
Yeah,
God loves you, and He gave you this gift
right.
to be able to bear children. Like, how do you
And
not
the
like
gift of birth, like birth is not a
yes,
curse, birth is a gift. He gave us
no,
this
it's a
gift.
gift. It's a beautiful thing that's been medicalized, that's been turned into something that it is so far from, that
Mhm.
so many women are afraid of, that they feel shame around, that they feel a lack of just peace over. Like, there is just so much fear, and literally one of the most beautiful things we could ever experience. And I just,
Like, yeah.
it has changed, it has changed me. It's changed the path for my daughter and the future of my family and what birth looks like. And it's broken those chains, and really just it's made me fall in love all over again with being a mom, because the time it flies. Like I'm in the thick of postpartum right now. And I say that because, I'm living in two extremes. I'm in the newborn, well, he's 12 weeks. So we're like in the infant, we're coming out of the newborn phase, which is really sad. But, he's experiencing his first as my first baby is experiencing her last. She's getting ready to graduate next weekend and
Yeah.
she's going to Liberty University. So she's going to Virginia. So she's going to be 8 hours away from us. And so it's
Yeah.
like, time goes so fast, and to
Oh.
have the gift of motherhood and to be able to do it again, especially when I know so many women are struggling, and I pray for those women that they get to experience what I've been able to. It's the best thing in the world. There's no job, there's nothing more important, there's no amount of money,
Mhm.
nothing that is better than birth, pregnancy, being a mom, like nothing. And I think that there is so much negativity in our society around motherhood and how children are exhausting and birth is painful and postpartum is depressing and it's full of anxiety, and it's like we need to flip the script because it doesn't have to be like that. If you're
Mhm.
supported well, if your body is well taken care of, if you're nourished, yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, it's going to be painful. Yes, you're going to have days where you're exhausted. That's part of all of it.
Yeah.
God is working, through you in those moments to refine you and to prepare you for the next season in your life. And if you can surrender and just trust in him and his plans for your life, I mean, I don't feel worthy of what I have. Like, I feel so grateful that, the thing I once dreamed of just became a reality for me. Like, it's insane. Honestly, when I think about the story and what I just went through 12 weeks ago, it's just like, wow, like you did that. Like
Yeah.
you did that. Like we did that. But it
Mhm.
wouldn't have been possible without my village, without the support I had from my partner. So I really truly feel like, it's not just the women, it's the men too.
Yes.
We need men to understand women better, and we need women to understand men better so that they can understand their roles in all of it and
Yeah.
support each other.
Yeah.
Because even with my husband, like, I knew he was going to see me in a vulnerable state. Like your partners love you,
Mhm.
they don't want to see you in pain. So that's why sometimes it's so easy for them to advocate for the meds and say, do the Pitocin, do the epidural.
Mhm.
But at the same time, are they really informed in terms of what those things can, cause afterwards? Like,
Right.
no, not most of the time. So it's like having your support team, the dual, your practitioners, family that you trust. Like, I can't recommend that enough because that was a game changer for me in truly nervous system regulation. Like,
Yes.
and that's, prayer, that's seeing a chiropractor, pelvic floor therapist. Like, there are pieces to that,
Mhm.
get off your screens. Like,
Seriously. Yes.
don't be looking at all the negative stuff out there because you're going to find lots of it.
Yeah.
Especially too, one of the things I will say with technology, when I started talking about uterine rupture, I'm telling you, my phone picked up
Freaking
on it
yeah.
because the algorithm, you start to see more of that. And I was like, no, I rebuke that. Like, that is the devil trying to get me in my feels. Like, so
Mhm.
I had to like move out of that space real quick, but I did go there. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. But again, then it was like, okay, focus on what are the positive things that you can do so that that is not a possibility. Because if you focus on that being a possibility, it's going to become more of a possibility. If you focus on how you can support your body, again, your birth plan says if there's a C-section, these are the things you're wishing for. You recognize that that could very well be something that needs to happen
Right.
if it needs to happen.
Right.
However, the whole idea is to really lean in. And if you want this VBAC, you're going to have this VBAC. And that's what I did. I prayed and I asked God and I prayed over my baby and I prayed that I'd find the right people to support me. And he was faithful. And it wasn't without testing me and putting me through pain. Like, you know what I mean? I am not one of those people that just progresses and then boom, I pop a baby out in 5 minutes. Like, that was not the case, but it was, 30 hours of probably one of the most transformative experiences of my life. And so if that is going to transform me in those ways, sign me up for another 30 hours because it's made me a better person, honestly,
Yeah.
truly. And my bond with my baby, oh my gosh, like, not that
Mhm.
I don't have a bond with my other two, but like,
Yeah.
him and I did something together, you know what I mean? That we
Mhm.
were told ultimately we really shouldn't do. We defied the odds together. Imagine
Mhm.
that with the Lord
Yeah.
at our side. Like,
Yeah.
how good is God,
And
you
like
know?
going into motherhood off of that kind of a birth where you feel like really invincible after a birth like that, right? Like but
Uh,
imagine, I just think so many women go in motherhood off of a birth like your first births where they completely, and then like that trust in themselves as a mother is like severed right from the get-go. And
1000%.
and because who wants that, right?
Yep.
Like the devil.
Yep.
Yep, So like it's just, this is how God can restore, these stories is through is through birth, through the gift of birth. And like,
So true.
so it is so beautiful to hear, your experience of that. And like, yeah, what was it like going into motherhood, on off of that birth versus your other two?
Bliss to the point where like I was in this bubble that I didn't want to pop. Like, I'm like, my husband paid family leave. We never had that. So to have my husband home
Yeah.
support me, are you kidding me? That was amazing. I had my homeschool and church community, they put a meal train together for us. Highly recommend if
Yeah.
you know people in your community, in your circle that are having babies, please, please do a meal train for
Yeah.
them. Please offer to bring them a meal. That was one of the best things ever. Like I was able to focus on healing. I had good, nourishing foods, diverse nourishing foods that were great for
Mhm.
my microbiome, my milk supply for baby. Like, oh, it was incredible. Like I was sad, honestly. I felt a little bit of the baby blues kick in when I realized it was coming to an end
Mm.
because I was like, I don't want this to ever end. Like, this is amazing. Like,
Yeah.
this is everything I could ever dream of. I've got my family all together in my own home, literally newborn bliss here. My daughter and my son are in love with their baby brother. My husband's cooking. He's literally bringing me food. He's doing laundry. He's taking the baby and cuddling with him and doing skin to skin. I'm like, why don't they educate everybody to experience this kind of stuff? Like, but I would never have had that if I didn't,
Yeah.
know to do the work to put those things in place. Like I
Right.
had my doula and my health practitioner, like we were literally freezing meals. We made
Mm.
soup and oatmeal cookies and protein balls, like all sorts of different things, like
Mhm.
before to prep. So I would, the days that I didn't have anybody bringing a meal, I could just go and, warm up a pot of soup. Like it was
Yeah.
great. It was wonderful. I think that if women experience what I experienced, we would hear so much less postpartum,
Mhm.
honestly. Like blues, the depression, the anxiety. I think so many women would not experience it in the ways that they do because if they had that support, on the outside, and then we're doing the things to support and nourish their body from the inside,
Mhm.
bonding with baby, like that's what it's all about.
Right.
That's your job.
That's your
Literally
job.
to
Yeah.
heal, to rest, to nourish your baby, bond your baby. That's all you should be doing.
That's it.
And we have this like complex in this world these days where we need to be super mom and we need to get back on our feet, get
Yeah.
back in the gym and worry about the baby weight and get out of here. That is the
Mm.
furthest thing you should be thinking about. Like
Yeah.
literally, like be excited that you have milk on you because you're producing enough to nourish your child. Like,
Yeah.
let's put that into perspective. Your body is so intelligent enough. It knows exactly what your baby needs, exactly when your baby needs it. What?
Mhm.
Like,
Wild.
let's think about that here for a second. But that stuff isn't going to, be easy for women to experience if their bodies aren't supported well, if their bodies are full of drugs, if their bodies, are
Mhm.
imbalanced because their hormones are all over the place, which we know happens after childbirth.
Yeah.
And then they're not being nourished and they're not resting and they're not having people come over and say, "Hey, let me do your laundry for you so that you can just go and rest with your baby." Like that's the kind of care. Forget about the gifts. Forget
Right.
about buying people, all this all the things that we think we need to consume that
Mhm.
drives consumerism. Forget about that stuff.
Right.
Like your baby doesn't need any more of that. They'll have the essentials. Like just come and help.
Right.
Help mom and dad.
Right.
That's the most important. I can go and buy clothes. I can go and buy diapers. Like, yes, were
Yeah.
those things wonderful when, people showered us with them at my shower? Yeah, absolutely. But like your gift of being there to help me during a time that I'm vulnerable and that I need support, that is the biggest gift of all. So
Absolutely.
I am very blessed that I got to experience, for the most part, outside of, the ups and downs of these emotions that I'm experiencing with my daughter graduating and going to college. Like postpartum has been beautiful. I've been so blessed. So blessed.
I
Just
love I
overwhelmed
love
with
that
love.
you bring up postpartum because yeah, that's so often women just kind of forget about it. They need to prepare that kind of having a meal train is so
Uh,
key. Like same,
ha-
I did the same thing. I didn't even have like I don't know. I had a little baby shower for my first baby, but for my second one, I said like no gifts, like but please bring me a meal postpartum.
yes.
You
Yes.
know? And that was
Yeah.
really great. I highly recommend doing doing that.
Yeah,
Babies,
it
all
was
babies need are like a few sleepers, diapers, and your boobs. maybe a baby carrier, like a car
Literally.
seat. Like that's all they need. You don't need all the
I
other
know.
stuff.
Seriously, all the other stuff that they make you think you need,
No,
forget it. Don't
forget
stress
about it.
yourself out over it. Like, even going from being a mom 12 years ago to now, like, there's so many other things. And I'm
Oh,
like, I look around and like, this is overwhelming. Like, I did fine without all this the first time. I don't need all this second time. Like, it's third,
mm-mm.
second time, the third time.
Yeah.
Like, it's too much. Like, and that's the stuff that overwhelms you too. It's like, you feel like you need to stay on top of this and you need this, and I've got to have this latest and great.
No.
No, your baby needs you. Your baby needs you. That's what your baby needs more than anything. Your baby doesn't need another device for you to put him down in. Your baby wants to
Right.
be held.
I know.
Your
And
baby wants to be snuggled.
the Lord will just keep pouring into you so that you can keep pouring out for your baby. Like just prayer. Like just keep, and
Absolutely.
I don't want to downplay how hard it is. It's really hard and it requires so much of you, but we're able to keep giving. Oh, I hear my baby.
I was going to say, I hear my baby too. Look at
Yeah.
both of our babies are like, all right.
Good. All right. You know what? Well, then how about this? How about we just wrap up with, if you had a woman sitting in front of you who really wants to have this kind of a birth, she's feeling some fear or doubt, what would you tell her?
Honestly, I would say to surrender it. I mean, I know not everybody, believes in God and has the same kind of faith, but for me, if you can just surrender all of it, find the right people to pray for you, pray over you, and just truly do what you need to do to care for your body, your nervous system. Allow your body to feel safe. When your body feels safe, amazing things will happen. But until your body feels safe, that's, ultimately the work that needs to be done to get to the place where you can experience that redemptive birth, because you need to be able to believe that your body is capable of doing it. And so you've got to create the environment so that your body knows it's capable of doing it. And so surrender it, and just really lean into prayer.
Amen. Oh, well, I could go on and on. I love everything you said today. I so
Thank you
appreciate
so
you
much.
sharing your story, Meg.
Yeah.
We should mention where people can connect with you.
So on Instagram, I'm on Rock Your Wellness Mag. So you can find me if you message me through my Instagram link. You can end up in my DMs. You can also find me at rockyourwellnessmag.com or
Mhm.
rockyourwellness.com. And then I do have a link in my profile if you are somebody who needs an integrative health practitioner and you want to work with me in terms of, gut microbiome or hormone balancing, or you have a child that can't poop. I have a little link in my discovery call. You can book that and you can find me there too. So I'm around.
Beautiful. I love that so much. Okay, well, I'll put that
Yeah.
all in the show notes down below. Thank you,
Sounds good.
Meg.
Thank you for listening to Your Redemptive Birth. If you enjoyed today's show, please leave a review on your listening platform to help this podcast reach the women it needs to reach. If you have a redemptive birth story you would like to share, please email me at sarah@yourredemptivebirth.com. I would love to hear from you. Let's spread the redemptive birth word together.